Hello, my name's Josh, and for a minute now, I've been wanting to kind of start one of these video diary YouTube channels. I've been noticing a lot of them on my feed recently, and I really just like how they're formatted. One of my New Year's resolutions for 2026 was to start journaling again, something I hadn't really done since high school. And for whatever reason, in these past 4 years since high school, I've just lost my ability to really put down pen to paper my thoughts. And looking back, I really don't think I had the ability back then either. I just kind of brute forced my way through it. So I really wanted to make videos just kind of as a sort of diary entry, just kind of thoughts on my mind. This is actually my second take of this because my first take I had really gross facial hair that looking back I just couldn't stand to look at, and I thought it would make a very bad first impression. So I went and shaved it, and now I'm making the second video, which is gonna basically talk about the same thing as I did in my first. But with that, what sparked my actual starting this account was today I was leaving the gym, and I've been going to the gym consistently for about 4 years now. I got really consistent at the start of college, and I'm about to graduate this semester. So it's been about 4 years, give or take, maybe with some gaps in the middle. But I've just kind of been reflecting on the progress I've made in the gym, and I obviously can lift heavier weights, and I have more endurance. But ultimately, I'm not physique-wise, I don't look super different from when I started, and I live a pretty average lifestyle. I'm a full-time student, and I work part-time at a job, so I can really only go to the gym for about an hour to every other day, 4 times a week normally. Um, and I can kind of only eat what I got in front of me. I have to eat out a lot being at school. And what I was just kind of thinking back about my goals starting going to the gym and kind of where I'm at now. But to go even further, I have to give some background about myself. So kind of as I've alluded to, I'm about to graduate college, so I'm 22 years old. And for as far back as I can remember, which has kind of been my whole life, I've always been very short, at least short on the average scale. Um, that being, as of right now, I'm 5'7", 7 inches. And I first kind of became aware of how tall I was in middle school. I remember I was in 6th grade and everyone was hitting kind of their first growth spurts. Sorry, my cat's kind of running around, so if you hear him, don't pay him no mind. In 6th grade, everyone was kind of hitting their first growth spurts, and I remember I was just tiny by comparison. I was tiny and I had no muscle mass, and I was a little tubby. I wasn't fat. I wouldn't call myself fat, but I had some meat on my bones. And I remember just kind of being insecure for the first time. And, it's real, and people don't like to talk about their insecurities, and a lot of people don't like to remember their insecurities. But I remember just kind of looking around and noticing everyone was stronger than me, everyone was taller than me. Um, and I was also very awkward. I was a very awkward kid. And I had friends, but I always second guessed my friendships because I always felt like I always felt like no one really actually liked me. These were all lies I kind of told myself. There was very little evidence to back any of these claims up. But with that, I middle school, high school, super shy, super quiet, super awkward. And it was around senior year of high school, Some friends of mine who these guys were friends, I love these guys. They got me started in the gym, and I started off really slow. I was super scared, I was scared to embarrass myself, as a lot of people are when they first start going. And I was very inconsistent for about a year. I'd probably go about once a week for a year, and I wouldn't really do much at that. But kind of at the start of college, I really decided to make it a priority. And since then, I've been consistent. I've been going 4 times a week normally, if my week allows it. And it's really been a great outlet for me in terms of just getting my mind right, getting my body right, and all that. Just kind of the general how everyone feels about the gym once they go consistently for a good amount of time. You really do start to feel good, both physically, mentally, all that. But the problem is when I started going to the gym, I was basically at the point where I was still kind of dealing with notions about my height. And I remember thinking like, okay, well, I can't change how tall I am, but I can change how I look. And to some extent that's true. I've definitely gained some muscle mass. I've lost a little bit of that tub. Um, but what I've come to realize is the lifestyle I lead, which is once again full-time student, have a job. I can't dedicate myself to the gym like the people you see on Instagram, all these bodybuilders, these fitness influencers. They have the money, the time, and the means to really model themselves how they want to. And what I've had to realize is I have a little bit of a tub on me, this little gut. And that's really not going away, not because I don't try, because I have been trying, um, but because just that's the way my body is. Genetically, that's genetically, I'm half Hispanic, and specifically for my mom's side, every man who is kind of about my same height range, we have very wide rib cages and very short torsos. So kind of all this fat accumulates right at the stomach area. So it's like very pronounced when you sit down, you got kind of these rolls. And that's really something I can't deal with, on a physical level. I can't. There's not a whole lot, unless I was in a super, super consistent calorie deficit and I worked out like crazy. There's really not a whole lot I can realistically do about it right now. So I was leaving the gym and I just ran 3 miles. 3 miles at a solid 5 miles an hour, no breaks. And I could have gone longer. I just wanted to kind of respect the etiquette of giving up my treadmill for someone else. And I was thinking, I kind of had this moment of just like, oh man, I was beating myself up because I was just like, man, I did that. I felt pumped. But like, honestly, it's not going to do much about my stomach. And I kind of had to sit with that for a second in my car, kind of had that post gym car sit. And I was just like, well, if it affects my body or not, I still did it. And if it affects my body or not, I've been going to the gym consistently for 4 years. And it's honestly been something I hadn't really thought about. I had been consistent at something for 4 years. And I have the serial habit of dropping hobbies, I mean, a lot of people do. Um, and I think for a lot of people, the gym can be on that list. And I kind of considered how lucky I am to have done that. Um, and how lucky I am to even go to the gym at all. I don't have chronic pain that inhibits me from going to the gym with cat's back. Um, and I don't have any sort of disability because I've seen people in wheelchairs at the gym, and they're pushing through it, pushing through it, and I bet they wish their body was a certain way, but they're dealing with it. Um, and then I realized, probably for the first time, um, because once again, I've ebbed and flowed with my insecurities about myself. Some days I feel fine about it, sometimes I feel absolutely awful about it. But I guess, like, for today, I had just a complete moment of pure understanding that sometimes we're just dealt crappy cards genetically, in any other facet of your life. For me, it's genetics. But even then, it's like, I don't, it's, it's crappy on a super surface level, you know? All my limbs work, all my organs work. Um, I've spent so much time resenting this body that served me well for the past 22 years of my life. And in reality, while I've been spending so much time kind of hating this thing that can't change, I've been completely ignoring this thing that has been changing, and that being my mind. I've adapted my mind to be able to go to the gym so consistently, and um, kind of rationalize all these challenges I want to put on myself. And I just wanted to take a moment, if I do ever feel insecure again, to just have this kind of entry or this video kind of just stand as just proof that, like, you can feel crappy about it for a few moments, but really there's so much more to look at and to understand about yourself. And I don't know if this is relatable in any way. I hope it is. But if this is something you're struggling with, put yourself in a position to succeed and then start succeeding, and then you'll soon realize that the thing you're even trying to change may not even be worth losing sleep over. Because that's kind of what I've realized. Maybe too late, maybe too early, maybe right on time. But ultimately, that's just kind of this opening thought I've had for this channel. It's just, once again, it's just going to be little entries like this that just me thinking and pondering certain ideas. Maybe some things will be more organized than others, I think. But I really don't know how often I'll be uploading, but I hope this is something I can keep doing pretty consistently. And yeah, I hope you all have a great rest of your day.